Is this on?
Yes, my lord.
Good. Hello, this is God speaking. Can we dial that down?
Yes, my lord.
Thanks. Welcome, new arrival to the Eternity Ward. Please take a number and make your way down to the left or the right to the waiting room. All you need is the refreshments I made just for you. I would tell you to steer clear of the apples, they're forbidden, and the 2 snakes. Fools, sorry, that are chewing the fat in the corner, but you probably wouldn't listen anyway. So good luck, I bless you, and on your way.
Welcome to the Eternity Ward, where while waiting for an appointment with God, we chat with our buddies in our own dark corner and conspire against Nick. I'm Chris Adams.
I'm feeling threatened.
And you are?
Nick McKinnon.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that because you were a bit worried that I'm at a guest's house where we're recording and you're with us over Skype. So we've actually been here for hours plotting against you. Not really, no. Actually, I think he got me here to bring me out of my comfort zone, so I think you're the one that's safe. I'm in his territory.
It's funny, Chris, because I'm a bit more worried about you than myself because I can see graffiti on the wall behind you.
Well, that's an interesting story, actually.
What sort of house are you in?
Yeah, that's a very interesting story, and I'll get our guest Dave Hammond to explain that to us, but I should introduce you to Dave. Dave's been working and living alongside vulnerable people and communities for the past 36 years. In a range of capacities, often in positions of leadership due to his strong sense of vision to help make a difference in the lives of those people and communities. He's currently working with a Christian organisation in Western Sydney. I say he's the wisest person that I know. By wise, I mean he has a fierce intelligence and a fierce heart and a very approachable manner. I've known Dave all my life. He probably remembers me as a snotty-nosed little tacker, and I'm very excited to have him on. Welcome, Dave.
You must have a small circle of friends.
I do. I'm unsociable.
Wisest person you know. Thank you. Hello to both of you. Hello, Nick, wherever you are.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. I don't know if we've met. Have we ever met?
I've heard your name about 1 million times. Does that count?
You're in Tassie, right?
I'm in Tassie.
I'm a Tasmanian, so we're probably related.
There we go.
I imagine.
Well, I'm not a Tasmanian, though, so...
Oh, well, then.
You're originally from here, from Sydney, weren't you?
Correct. Canterbury Bankstown. That's my team.
Oh.
Mm.
Right. Good to know. Good to know.
Carry on.
So you're asking about the house. So it's interesting because I got Dave on because he has worked alongside and lived alongside vulnerable people and communities for a lot of his life. And the house that we're in, yeah, there's graffiti all over the walls. I remember when Dave moved into this house, he took me through it. It was a shell of a house, you know, where, I don't know, what would have transpired within these walls?
I can tell you.
You can tell us? Mm. You've now moved in. You've been living here for a while. It looks like a home, but there's still a lot of graffiti on the walls. What's with that?
Because I painted down the other end before we moved in.
Yeah.
And then we moved in and I didn't finish painting the rest of it.
You're not leaving the graffiti up there as some sort of statement?
Oh, well, actually, I like some of it. Do you want me to tell you a story about the graffiti?
Yeah, we like stories.
So the house is owned by, it's part of a affordable housing kind of arrangement here in this suburb, and we might make the suburb nameless if you wouldn't mind. They have enough bad publicity as it is. So one of the things I do is I oversee a community centre next door to this house, and you know, long story short, it appeared to have some odd-looking people living here, so I went and said hello, and they turned out to be security guards, 24/7 security, because for whatever reason they weren't able to put people in there ever. I think is the idea. So I said to the security guard, "Oh, I might be interested. Could you tell whoever owns it I'm interested?" And the next morning at about 7:30, I got a phone call. So they must have been pretty keen. Came and had a look at it. Went home to my partner in crime, Sally, and said, "How'd you like to move to this suburb?" She said, "Oh yeah. When were you thinking?" I said, "Saturday."
Yeah.
So we moved in about 4 or 5 days later. But the graffiti, one day it took from when, just before the security guards moved in and all this graffiti happened and a few other things. So a little while after we moved in, we're doing this graffiti cleanup project on the shops up the road. This is a true story, right?
Okay.
So a heap of us did it on a Friday, and I kept some of the paint because I'm not an idiot. Like I figured if I was 12, I'd be tagging it the next day or that night.
Right.
And so I got up next morning and sure enough, you know, a couple of tags and a picture of a person's head. I can't really describe it to you, but just a simple kind of cartoon head. So I took down my roller and some paint and a couple of brushes because I had a bit of an idea that some of the young blokes might come along. And so I started painting it. Have you read Tom Sawyer?
I'm familiar with the story.
I Tom Sawyered them, all right? So anyway, I'm not going to explain that. If you're interested, go read Tom Sawyer. I Tom Sawyered them. I whitewashed fence. Look up that Tom Sawyer whitewashed fence. Google that and you'll find the story. So I'm there painting it. It's a nice morning. These two kids come along and I said, what are you doing? And I said, oh, I'm painting. And they said, it'll just happen again tomorrow. I said, I hope so. I really like painting. And they kept chatting. And I said, you can help if you like. So they basically jumped in. And then we got round the corner to this big head, kind of cartoony sort of head. It wasn't very well done, but it's exactly the same one that's down my hallway.
Right, yeah.
The guy's starting to paint on it, and I said, you know what, mate, I've got this exact picture in my hallway, graffiti in my hallway. And he said, oh, have you kept it? I said, yeah, I like it. And he said, I promise you this is true. He said, what's wrong with this one? Didn't I do a good job with this one?
Right. So you found the
He
the
fessed
artist.
up. But that's the story of this house. So it was a challenging neighbourhood. There's lots of great people, but it's got a bad reputation.
Yeah.
See, I reckon a better story would have been.
It's a pretty good story.
Yeah, I've got a better one though. This one's made up, but still.
Yeah, well, anyone can make up a better story.
Yeah, but it'd be good for you. You could go around telling people, well, this is the house that Banksy grew up in, and this is how he learnt his craft by doing it in the hallway.
That sounds a great idea. I like that.
There you go.
Very good. So we're here.
Yeah, we're
We've been
here.
here about 7 months or something, 8 months, from April to now.
But you're saying it's a challenging neighbourhood.
It is. Well, this morning at 3:30, bash, bash, bash on the door. It didn't wake me up. Sal woke up. Essentially woke me up. We have a plan of what to do. So we enacted our plan. Anyway, it was the coppers, the officers, police officers. It was the coppers, 4 of them, lights in the eyes, get outside now kind of deal. It was a little bit tense. Anyway, they were chasing someone. I thought we might have been it. But I'm white.
Oh.
And the person they were chasing was not white. It was unnerving.
It was unnerving. Yep.
I wondered what it might be like if I wasn't white. But it would have been
Do you
pretty
have an
scary.
idea?
No, I don't.
All right.
But that's the issue with, in the US, the Black Lives Matter thing. That's one of the things they're talking about. You can be nervous just walking up the street.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm not black. I'm white. I wouldn't know. Anyway, you want to know about neighbourhood?
Yeah.
It's about 3 times the national average for unemployment, nearly triple the family violence rate, and, most social indicators are pretty high here. But we love it. We really love living here. Made a number of friends in a short period of time. They're great people.
If you're wanting to work in the community, wouldn't it be easier to, be living elsewhere and just commute in?
No. Why would you do that?
So you wouldn't get bang on the door from the cops at 4 a.m.?
Why don't you want that? Yeah,
It's a question to see.
we're only
to see
2
why
minutes
it is that
into
you
this
do
thing,
it.
and I've already got an issue with what you just said.
Well, take me.
Well, you see, it's that the idea that somehow there's a better life, that the other kind of no banging on the door is a better life.
Okay.
Maybe it is, I don't know, but I feel fortunate.
Is that how you felt at 3 o'clock this morning?
Yeah, I did. I said to the coppers, they said, oh, sorry, mate, to wake up. I said, no worries. You're our friends. I was going to offer them breakfast, but I thought better of it. It's probably too early. But, yeah, no, I didn't mind at all.
So you're hoping that happens every day of the year?
Every day of the year? No. Why would I hope that?
Like if it's a good thing, you're saying that you enjoyed it, you were glad that it happened.
Yeah.
Well, if you were glad it happened, wouldn't you want it to happen regularly?
That's a remarkably poorly thought through question.
Well, I'd love you to explain why it's remarkably poorly thought through.
I like ice creams too, but I don't think I want ice cream every day. I like going to the movies, but I don't want to go to the movies every day. I like a lot of things, but I don't feel the need to have what I like every day.
My question was an insincere question.
Was it?
Yeah.
Interestingly, if you like something, would you want it every day? I mean, the thing for me is you don't have what you like every day. There's not enough time in a day to have everything you like every day. But if it happened every day, how would I feel? I'd feel okay, I suppose. I'd feel tired. That's okay. I think this is like Christian kind of faithy sort of podcast, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, we will get
I
to
listen
that
to
with
it.
you.
I do listen to it.
I know you've heard a few.
Every now and then I throw the phone across the room.
You've given us some.
So you're
feedback.
doing a good job, aren't you? I mean, that's part of the thing, isn't it? You've got to make people like me think. I'm a Christian person. These days I prefer to call myself a man of faith, but it's a Christian faith, I suppose. I think, for example, we Christians have got ourselves into a bit of problems with some of the language we use and maybe what we think it means. So, like, usually when something good happens, often a Christian person, I understand why, but they'll say they're blessed.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not entirely sure. We don't want to like a Bible lesson now, do we? But I don't think that's.
Come on, Pastor Dave.
Blessing.
What does bless?
Blessing doesn't really
what
mean
does blessing
that.
mean?
No,
If you feel blessed, what's actually?
It's about being in the right place.
Yeah.
Really.
Okay.
There's other meanings too. I mean, anyone can look it up, what biblical blessing is, but it doesn't mean things are good or happy or pleasant. That's not what it means. But we kind of use it that way. Who knows why we do. I feel blessed that they bashed on my door this morning.
Okay.
I do. Because afterwards, I spent time reflecting on, holy crap, what's life like in a neighbourhood where that's just going on all the time? I am a wealthy white man, middle-aged, straight. We are sitting close, I'm just letting you know. I'm a wealthy, straight, religious white man. I'm at the top of the pile. So it's hard for me to have any clue what it's like to be halfway down the pile, let alone at the bottom of it. I'm clueless. So every now and then, those things, it is a blessing. The way I see it, it gives me this opportunity to reflect and think, wow, what if I was black? Would I have been treated? I don't know. They're good coppers around here. So that's what I mean, Nick. Yeah, no, I don't think I want every day. Although if it happened every day, it'd be a great story, wouldn't it? You could write a book about that at the end of the year, couldn't you? My 365 knocks on the door. I can't have an ice cream every day. I'm just saying. I'm going back to my ice cream.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I don't think it is analogous to the ice cream thing because there's negative externalities with ice cream.
Analogous and externalities. They're above my pay grade, sorry. I don't understand what those words mean. Externalities would mean something on the outside. Is that what you meant?
Yes.
What's analogous mean?
Like metaphor, simile. It's an analogy.
Is it?
Yeah.
I will bow to superior knowledge. I didn't.
Nick introduced me to the word analogous.
It's a great word. Don't get me wrong. Though I don't know them all, I love language and I love the word. So if you know them, I'm impressed.
Mine was an insincere question.
Which one was it?
The one right back at the start. Just why wouldn't you commute?
Oh, yeah.
Because I was just trying to find out why you feel compelled to live and alongside and
happy
work
to
with these
answer
people
that.
and help them.
Do either of you guys, have you done any sort of social work or anything?
Yeah, we both do.
So you've got a good grasp.
Yeah.
I don't know if you experience this. It's not uncommon for social workers to live outside of the communities. Is that right?
Yep.
Would you agree? Yeah.
We're both ones that do live within the communities we work with.
We frequently visit friends on other parts of town, and I love going there. I love it. It's quiet, it's green, and it's nice. I can understand why you want to live in those places. I don't. I mean, I do, but I don't. I don't think I'm strong enough to live in those places.
Strong enough?
Now that I hear it, it sounds silly, but no, I mean it. I would be incredibly self-indulgent. I wouldn't come out here, I think.
Interesting.
Window dressing mostly. An empty shirt, I used to call myself.
I feel like I'm getting a little bit of an extra insight into you, Dave. I've known you a long time, but you've always been a very driven person.
I probably am, but most of that's through guilt, shame, and
right,
and the usual Christian gear that people like me have.
So
am I really driven? Do you think?
Yeah.
You're making big googly eyes at me. Yeah, okay, yeah, I suppose I am. But look, don't think for a minute. I mean, no one listening to this knows me probably, so I could just crap on about how I am so focused on important things, but it's not that always. I feel guilty about things. I have a good chunk of shame in my boot. I've got a lot of baggage.
Right.
And I've had wonderful role models and things that people have inspired me, so I do it for those reasons too, but I wouldn't be too confident because I'm deeply committed or anything like that. Maybe I am. I don't know. I don't think I am. I'm a bit of everything.
I'm going to need to get some more insight here because I know that you weren't always this Dave.
Sure.
You started somewhere else, and we often like to try and find out. Like, were you brought up as a Christian, or did you come to that at some point?
Mm-hmm. Always believed in God.
Okay.
I was raised that way. As long as I can remember. I mean, I used to go to a Baptist church. Mum used to take us to a Baptist church. Or the hell out of all of us. I got 3 older brothers and a younger sister, all who are awesome people, very funny people. And, it was just so boring. People wore hats and they played the organ, and then some bloke would get up and, the drill.
Yeah.
Nick, I don't know all your background. I know your last name. I do know a little bit.
I don't play the organ. I do wear hats sometimes.
I have been bored to tears by a Baptist minister is all I'm saying. I know Nick's dad pretty well. He's a great guy. I really like him. He's a good guy. He makes me laugh too. But as it turns out, we went to a Baptist church, so all that.
Right.
But I didn't like it at all.
Mm.
I didn't know what. You sit in church and the bloke's doing a sermon. It's always bloke. It was then, and people make these grunting noises.
Mm.
And when they're praying, Over on your left, there'd be someone going, "Arr, arr." I used to look around like a startled rabbit. And occasionally I said to Mum, what, what was that? She explained. I was just agreeing with the prayer. Anyway, I didn't hate it. I didn't fit in at all. Didn't like it. But I had no problem with God. I didn't know much about God or anything. It's pretty obvious to me, I guess. All through my life until today. I have never had really a moment of doubt about that.
Okay.
My wife thinks it's weird. That doesn't get rattled. I don't know why. Maybe the delusion is so deep. Do you think it's possible? I read The God Delusion. Not a very good book. Anyway, so I...
I haven't read it. Nick would have read it.
Did you read it, Nick?
No?
I wrote to him and I said, I want my money back. Well, I wanted to be challenged, because I'm 53. Eventually you kind of get a bit stuck in your ways and blinkered and all that. I thought this will give me a hiding. It was like a 12-year-old rant. It wasn't very good. Anyway, I had no trouble believing in God and I stayed with that. I mean, I don't know about all the technicals, but that God's there. But
you weren't a good little Christian boy. That's not the story I remember.
I was a drug dealer from very young.
Seriously?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
And the worst of it was the eggs we used to throw at cars. But apart from that, I sold drugs.
That was the worst of it.
Well, we used to break into the local zoo and pinch all the. You ever seen a duck egg?
Right.
A bigger baby, and zoos have ducks, and they have other ones too. I don't know what they were called, but they were big eggs. We used to knock them off. If we passed the statute of limitation, do we have a statute of limitation? And we'd then get up on roofs and chuck them at cars going past that. They're just kid stuff.
Right.
Nothing too serious. I mean, a few other things that we don't need to talk about. But
that's fine.
But yeah, I did. Well, that was just survival, the drug stuff. I became homeless there for a while. I had no other real way to rah-rah. It's all a bit foggy, all that part of my life, mostly because of the drugs, I would say.
Is that part of the drive to work with
Not
people
really.
in this neighborhood? Not really?
I mean, maybe. I don't really. You know how people say, well, you had a bad background, that must motivate you. I don't relate to that.
Okay.
It might be, though. You know how you have things you're not aware of that drive you, I'm sure. Maybe it is. But I guess it put me, that's how I came across the organisation. Back in those days, they probably still are, but they were radicals back then, mate. They ran drop-in centres with rock bands and cheap raisin toast and Pablo coffee. It was free, just as well, Pablo. Anyway, lots of seagrass matting and hessian on the ceiling. Pool table, and what would the other table be?
Ping pong.
Yeah, ping pong. Yeah, that were the days. Anyway, that's where I met Sally, my wife, actually. She was one of the volunteers. I wandered in. There was a band playing, Girl, You Really Got Me Now, by the Kinks, right?
Yeah.
We're clear on that, aren't we?
Yeah.
Anyway, I went in and it turned out it was a Christian place, and I thought, I've never heard good music coming out of a Christian joint. So from then, I did have a conversion experience at some stage in high school, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
One of those ones people talk about, but didn't stick.
Didn't stick.
No. Happened on a Friday night, done by Monday morning. back to school, and holy cow, I don't think I'm going to be one of those.
Right. And somewhere along the way, a little bit further down the track.
Well, it didn't mean I didn't believe in God or anything. You understand? I mean,
yeah,
you guys, I listen to your podcast. You blokes pretty sharp.
You said that you've believed in God
all
the time.
Yes. Yeah, I don't think you have to
you didn't always
be a Christian to
like
believe in God, do you? Yeah. Muslims believe in God. Same one.
I turned my back on Christianity for 15 years.
Did
when
you?
I was younger.
What on earth made you come back?
But in all that time, if I'm being sincere, I would say that I still believed in God the whole time. So
what's your deal, Nick? Am I allowed to ask?
Yeah, you can ask all sorts of questions.
You're not allowed to ask the questions.
No, right. No.
Know your role.
Yeah, that's right there.
No, of course you can. What's your question?
Oh, your faith thing. Like, did you start out a Christian? Are you one? Did you stop or start? Or are you Hindu or something? Or are you an atheist? Or what's your drill?
I'm Scientologist.
Oh, awesome. Say hi.
Yeah.
Say hi. It's got to be said, doesn't it? Say hi to Tom for me.
I grew up in a Christian household. My dad is a Baptist pastor, as you know.
Good man.
He is a good man. So, yeah, I grew up around that. I don't know that you would say that I chose to be a Christian because I was sort of born into it.
Yep.
And so I think what you grow up with, the society you're in, the family you're in, you inherit almost everything, I think. I don't think I'll ever outgrow everything that I've been brought up with. And so, I don't know how you work out at what point I stopped becoming a Christian.
So you're not now?
No, I'm not now. I had a car accident when I was 21, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember after it, lying in hospital, it was a pretty severe car accident. I broke my neck in 3 places.
Jeez.
The doctor said that I should have been dead. The helicopter pilots came in and saw me and said, "Whoa, we thought you would gone for sure. We thought it was a waste of time us going to pick you up." So I had that experience, and I remember like people from church coming into the hospital and being like, "Oh, God saved you for great reasons" or something.
Oh, yeah, I know the one. Yep.
And then the thoughts that are going through my head are that, 2 years ago, another young dude in our church died from a motorcycle accident. And I'm just like, well, where was God then?
Exactly. What a great question, Nick.
Yeah, so I found that troubling, and I've always liked questions. I've always liked hearing thoughts that I don't have an answer to and forcing myself to go away and wrestle with difficult questions. And so I guess faith was one of those that, I've wrestled with it since the time I was, very young.
Yeah.
More and more I've heard questions, been exposed to questions. Like I started off listening to those sort of atheist versus theist debates from the perspective of being a theist and just wanting to understand the perspective of, the Richard Dawkins and those sort of people. And most of the time having your experience sitting there going, oh, these guys are insane. They're crazy. I don't know if you ever saw the Andrew Denton interview with Richard Dawkins where...
Oh, gee, that was sad, wasn't it?
Yeah, so Andrew Denton asked Richard Dawkins what is love, and Richard Dawkins just got furious and just stood up and left.
He couldn't cope.
Yes.
It's in the dictionary, is it? It's in the dictionary.
Yes.
Look it up in the dictionary.
So I'd watch those sort of things and go, oh, these guys are crazy, but he can't be the most articulate atheist, surely. And so I kept searching for more articulate ones and ones with better arguments and ended up finding ones that I thought had questions that I just didn't have answers to. And so, this podcast is one attempt to reach out to Christians and say, what am I missing?
It's a good attempt.
Because I don't stop once I've changed my view on something. I don't stop and go, right, I've arrived at my position. I go, well, I've been wrong many times in the past. I'm sure I hold many views now that I will have changed in a year's time, in 5 years' time. I don't want to hold any view that is wrong 1 minute longer than I have to. So I'm constantly searching for new information or new ways of looking at the world. And
cool.
So we've explored a lot of the questions in the podcast in different episodes about the sort of things that drags my faith from under my feet.
Yeah, I've heard a few.
You haven't heard the one that we did with Jeff McKinnon, though. Pastor Jeff McKinnon.
No.
We did one with him.
That would be fun. Well, I never doubted God or I had a problem with my faith. The only time I've ever really wondered if I'm a Christian or not, other than when I was quite young and I hadn't sort of decided for myself, was last year, actually.
Very recently last year. Were you, because I was stalking you on social on social media, and you were I don't know if I'm a Christian anymore. You were arguing with all these Christians, and because you've got a large circle of friends who are Christian, and you were arguing a lot with them, and it was focused around
I did get a bit of a pounding. I did.
It was focused around the same-sex marriage debate. But you've been carrying on arguing about all the other issues that keep rising up as well.
It's my own fault. I blame myself. Yeah, the same-sex marriage thing was interesting for me.
So why did that spur you to say, am I still a Christian or not?
Because I didn't want to get involved in the discussion. Right? I am not a crusader. I just react. That's my problem. I'm a reactionary. If I could just pull my head in and shut my mouth, life would be a lot easier. I enjoy Facebook. I think it's a good place to have a good go, There are a few shrinking violets who feel a bit offended, and hurt and wounded. I'm often offended, but that's all right. Otherwise, it's good to have a good go. Where else do you do it? With different people. I've got a whole bunch of friends who voted for Donald Trump, which I think is pure insanity, but we're good friends and we talk about it. Just yesterday, we were talking about it. Yeah, the same-sex marriage thing, I just saw, I don't know how to be honest without being a smart aleck or full of myself. So I have no idea, really, if the Bible thinks that same-sex marriage is wrong, which will horrify some people who might listen. Oh, I know I'm listening to this, surely.
No,
really. All a bunch of raging lefties listen to this, don't they?
No.
I listen to it. Sounds like a raging lefty kind of. Every now and then, Nick, you say something way over on the right-hand side there. I found it revolting what a lot of Christian people I knew were saying. And in one string or two, there was a discussion about what's the least we could let those gay people get and it'd still be okay with the Bible. As if they were like a thing. I felt grubby after that. I was in on it, trying to argue with it. And I felt pretty grubby after that.
There was a lot of people arguing with you.
Well, I'm conscious. I don't know what you blokes think about Facebook. I'm conscious that, say, if Nick and I are having a bit of a go with each other, it's not really about Nick and I. It's about people watching on.
Okay.
And as far as I'm concerned, there were not enough Christian people who were speaking up articulately for a minority.
But isn't that because the Bible is pretty straightforward in condemning homosexuality?
Do you think so?
I think that's a straightforward reading of it, yeah.
Is that what you believe?
Well,
I don't really care what it believes.
Well, then don't bring it up.
No,
I don't need the Bible to be telling me that.
Yeah, what Nick has said
I'm happy
before,
to talk about the Bible, what it says.
No, but this ties into what you said before, Nick, about that there are a lot of Christians who will sit in their church and someone will get up and they'll start going on about how homosexuality is a sin. And they're going, they don't believe that, but because it's in the Bible, they're like, so they're the silent majority.
Right.
They're silent. They don't say anything, and you're having the same complaint that they're being sort of silent.
Well, I think it's complicated. Like, one of the things I hate when I throw the phone on, listen to your podcast, it's when you oversimplify it. I don't say you haven't thought it through, Chris, but it just appears as though you haven't really. Like, one day you're talking about feminism or sexual assault.
Yeah,
I just thought two boys talking like they have some sort of authority and sounding clueless to me. You know, I hate that. Every now and then, like, I get involved in Aboriginal issues, and sometimes I start talking and I think, holy cow, I'm a 6'4" white guy, and I'm pretty white. You know, I'm not even slightly off-white. I'm very white. I've been told once or twice, you know, pull your head in, you don't know what you're talking about. Even if I do know what I'm talking about, it's not my place to talk about it. So, on that same-sex front, in the Bible, the Bible says a lot of things. It's translated from another culture. Anyone who's been to a Bible college, which I have, anyone who's been to Bible college knows that you don't just read what the English says on anything that's remotely, controversial or,
questionable,
important, or that you feel is important. You just don't. I don't know a single well-trained theologian who wouldn't say that yet. I don't know if this is what you're kind of nudging towards, Nick. If you are, I'm starting a band to follow you around and play the tune. We have people who don't really know what they're talking about making big statements like the Bible says. Well, does it?
I think Nick's saying that the majority of people who read the Bible as if that's what it says is where the issue lies. Because you said you don't believe that, or do you? I don't know.
Well, Nick's saying, and I'm a little bit in Nick's court on this. Nick's saying, I don't really care.
Yeah.
I think isn't that what you were saying before?
It's not just that. It's there are passages in the Bible that say that homosexuality is punishable by death. You don't have to be doing some strange misreading of the text to get out of it that homosexuality is evil and you should kill all homosexuals. Like, that's very straightforward reading of multiple passages.
I don't think it's straightforward reading, but that's what you're saying. I accept that's what you believe.
No, but are you saying that's not in the Bible? It doesn't say those words anywhere in the Bible.
Well, the problem we've got here is that we're not going to now open up the Bible and go through them all. I'm not. I just don't think it's helpful to talk about it like that, like absolutes, where we're not in a position to really work through it. I think the Bible says a lot of things, Nick, that you and I, well, you don't, but a lot of Christian people know. It's obvious that it's not applicable anymore. Someone will say, oh, that's the Old Testament, but the Bible's the Bible, baby, so Christians have got to get the hang of this. The Old Testament and the New Testament's all part of it, as far as I'm concerned. In the Old Testament, you don't grow veggies, do you, Nick?
We do. We do have veggies.
Well, if you grow a couple of different crops right next to each other that you're not supposed to, I am empowered to stone you to death. If you play with a proper Sharon footy, I'm empowered to stone you to death. If anyone's trying to tell me that is applicable, I mean, it's just stupid. Of course it's not. Right? So there are some obvious things, I think, like that. I think that's easy. It's obvious.
So do you think that to be a Christian, you should have to go to Bible college and get that level of understanding?
No, of course not.
But it'd be pretty important. Like, it's a pretty dangerous book if you read it the way it's written.
Bloody dangerous. It's incredibly dangerous.
So shouldn't we not want people to read it unless they have the proper understanding of how to interpret it?
No, I don't think so.
No, of course not.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, it causes chaos, but so does atheism and, Marxism and, a lot of things. I mean, this is the part of the problem is we're humans. I had that discussion with someone the other day. Someone was well, in fairness, they weren't ranting, right? But it felt like a rant to me. They were ranting about, obedience. It's all about obedience. You got to obey. And I was saying, Well, if it's all about obedience, I'm shot because I don't have the wherewithal to do all those things you're talking about, mate. I can't do it. So to me, it is obvious as you look out in the world that human beings are not really the full shilling. Whether it's we haven't evolved to a high enough level to be moral without coercion or there's something else going on, but we're just problematic. All of it. I am. The list of things in my life that are not good, it's a pretty long list. I think, yeah, it should be in people's hands. But what I would prefer, I don't think we really need Bible college. I don't think so. I think I'd rather people be learning humility. That's what I'd rather. I have it too. I mean, I'm pretty arrogant. Surely you've seen me at play. I get a bit arrogant, and a lot of people do. They just they say it as if this is the truth here, right here. And I'm thinking, yeah, right. Well, how do you know that? I mean, even the Bible, if you believe what it says, even the Bible says basically you're all a pack of morons, so stop making big statements. I don't know about Bible college, but I love humility school for us all to just get a hang that it's okay to believe something. That's cool, or not. Be able to be open to that I'm wrong. Yeah, do you think? Or am I
I find
I am often full of it, and I have had half a glass of red wine. So, what are you drinking, Nick?
got his cloudy apple cider as always.
Is that good?
Yeah, that's my favourite.
Okay, sorry. Anyway, I don't know if I'm having a rant, but I think that there's a whole lot of stuff that my brothers and sisters, let me just say that as Christians, that we could all learn about humility, about coming up to the boundaries of other people a bit more gently, about being a bit more honest. I go to a Bible study. It is not a very cool thing to say, I don't really have any problem with doubt. You're just supposed to say those things, and then Jesus helps you doubt. Well, I just haven't experienced it.
I told you to read Peter Rollins.
I've got a few books on the go at the moment. I've got that one. It's right here, Fire and Fury. Nick, I bought Fire and Fury.
That's the Trump one, yeah?
It's like a box of chocolates, so you can only have 1 or 2 pages at a time. It's just so funny. It's basically a comedy. It is. It's a very funny book. Anyway, sorry, I digress.
So humility school. So you think essentially what ails people is a Trump sort of thing? Is it narcissism, or is it just a self-indulgent thing? Like,
well, I don't know about them. I can tell you about me.
All right.
Where I come unstuck. I react to things I don't like. And there's no guessing from day to day what I don't like. I mean, underneath, I react a lot to things that are not sensitive to the poor and disadvantaged. I think I'm a self-made, self-proclaimed spokesperson, which is really unhelpful. I am neither poor nor disadvantaged, so I could pull my head in a bit. But I tend to react. I'll tend to react more to stupid things that I hear, say, a Liberal or National Party person say than I will to stupid things that a Greens or Labor Party person. You know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty inconsistent. Humility, as I understand it, and maybe there are different definitions, but it's about having an accurate picture of yourself. It's a frightening concept.
I'd forgotten that was an understanding.
Yeah, that's how I work.
It's helpful to be reminded.
Okay, so an accurate picture, I think Nick said before, I've been wrong before. I think you were saying you've been wrong a lot of times, so you like to keep moving forward or keep learning, and I'm just so in that basket. The accurate picture of me is that I react, I'm judgmental, I'm a bit of an empty shirt, I've learned to talk, I don't necessarily embody the talk. I've got a lot of those things. Now, I'm not ashamed of those things. I mean, that's just the truth. That's the way I am. I want to grow, and I don't want to be like that. Humility to me is being able to start an argument by saying, well, just to make things clear, I am a bit of a loser, so don't take anything I say too seriously. I may react to you. So
is that an accurate picture of yourself?
Yeah, totally.
Or are you just putting yourself down?
No. Sally's not here, right? But when we go to dinner and she is with me, and I'll say something. If a conversation like this comes up, right, I'll say something just like I've said. And someone will say, you can just hear it, can't you? Oh, for goodness sake, David, you are a great man of God. I've heard that a few times. I look over and say, Sal, am I exaggerating? And she'll say, no, he's not. He's telling the truth. I'm none of those. I project well when I want to. I can do a good talk and slay him in the idols if I need to, but I have my demons. Whatever language you want to use, I'm a broken guy, I'm a fallen guy. Absolutely. I don't mind that I am. I mind the effect it has on my marriage and my kids and people around me. I mind that. I don't mind that I am broken. Everybody is. Except you, Chris.
No, I'm broken. I'm just going, we need to sit you back in the couch and we'll just let you figure out all of your demons
No, you're not learning all of them. It's not embarrassing.
So you said earlier on that you've never really doubted whether God exists.
Yeah.
Have you ever doubted whether God is good? And
No.
Oh, so you've never doubted that God is good?
No.
All right. That's a good question then. Done.
I can have a go at justifying it. I'll have a little bit of a go if you like. I'm happy to try.
Have a go.
Look, I just don't want to infuriate anybody. But part of it, I don't even know why. Honestly, truthfully, I don't know why I am like I am with that stuff. I just am. However, you know that old chestnut, if God's good, how come there's so much suffering and all that? I think it's a great question. But it's, I don't know what the right, and I love analogies. I haven't got the right analogy, but it's kind of like using distance to measure the volume of an ocean or something, you know. Trying to answer a question put to you in such terms is never going to be rewarding. It's just never going to make sense. It doesn't make sense.
So you think it's an unfair question?
Oh, I don't think it's unfair. No such thing as good. That is great. No such thing as an unfair question. I think all questions are great, but not all questions can be answered in a way that's intellectually satisfying. I think, and I don't think that's bad either. I think some things are just not intellectual kind of exercises.
So you think if heaven exists, when people get there and they say to God, "Why did this happen?" even God won't have an answer that can be understood?
Oh, good question. Okay. So here's my basic kind of framework, but it's not a concrete slab, right? So in other words, I'm pretty finite. I'm limited. So here's the thing. If there is a God, I can't prove it, but I presume that God is all those big words.
Omnipotent.
Yeah, that stuff, you know.
Omniscient.
Yeah.
Omnipresent.
Omni. It's a great app. You know, like all-powerful, rah, 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 rah. And if that's the case, I mean, I'm happy for it to be if. I don't feel the need to win an argument about it, but if that's the case, it just seems to me that if I could grasp all knowledge, then I'd be God. And I'm okay with not grasping all knowledge. I don't understand myself yet. How on earth I expect to understand some of the more complicated puzzles of the universe is breathtaking to me that anyone would think I could. So that's kind of a framework I come from. It's not a cop-out. That's why I think all questions are good. They're fair. All questions are fair. And sometimes I have to say I don't have an answer to that. Not at the moment. Other times I say I don't think I'm ever going to get an answer to that. Not in my current format as a person. You know, I don't think I can quite comprehend it, which doesn't faze me. When we get to heaven, so even that, when we get to heaven, it just gives me the irrits, that term too. People who wrote the Bible used metaphors, I guess, or they could best use at the time. You know, hell is a lake of burning fire and rah, rah, rah. And heaven's got streets of gold and angels and things. And I just think, what a boring place. I don't want to go there. You'd slip over if you're wearing socks and crack your skull on the gold. And gold wears out pretty quick too. So, it's, you know, all that stuff. I don't relate to it.
Right.
I relate to the bush and people and, you know, if it's got trees and honestly, I know this is really bad, but if it's got a golf course, I'm in. If you've got a good red wine, and if Sally's there, and my kids, you blokes, I can take or leave. Just to use that analogy, Nick, you know, when we get to heaven, you know, just assuming all the things we don't like about that, assuming that as an analogy, as a question, I don't know, because I don't think that we are God. I'm not God, and when I drop dead and go to heaven, I don't expect to be God. I don't feel the need to be God. I don't feel the need to have all the answers. I don't feel the need to have many answers. I don't know if that makes me an intellectual pygmy.
Maybe you're a giant heart.
You know what I've been told? But what I've been told is that I have a very something spirit. My wife says that. A lot of people say, you know, a vivacious or active or full or something spirit. I don't know what they mean by spirit. I know what I mean. I think maybe it's possible that some human beings are just a bit more wired to not feel the need to have all the answers. Thank goodness there are people who are wired to want to have all the answers, I say. Otherwise, we'd still be wiping our bums with bark, wouldn't we?
Yep.
I, for one, am glad I'm not wiping my backside with leaves.
I don't even wipe my bum at all.
Ah, that's the shot. It's that clean. You must have really good, lot of water and fibre in your diet. They just slip out.
Have you heard of a bidet?
Oh, you got a bidet?
I got a bidet.
I have never worked out how to use those damn things. And it's not like you can ask someone to come in and show you.
That could be awkward.
I really want to change the topic of conversation.
Thanks for that question, Nick. I told you, I did warn you it's not very intellectually satisfying, honestly, I appreciate that.
So you don't necessarily need all of the answers, but
No.
I'm assuming that your faith is something that guides what you do.
Yeah.
Would you
I
still
hope
be
so.
would you be doing the same sort of work?
Gee, that is a really good question.
If you were
Isn't that a good question?
Yeah.
I have no way of knowing an answer to that question. The work that I do is a bit entrepreneurial. I do a lot of things through the last 25 years maybe, where we don't have any money much or any other resources, just our wits, no, just a vision, and then we go about finding ways of making it happen. So I think I'm a bit entrepreneurial. So I don't know, maybe I've been property development, mate.
I do know that, well, just related to that, you have cultivated, relationships with sort of some powerful people or
I
rich
do.
people,
I have.
and
Well, I don't know if I've cultivated them. I am friends with some wealthy and powerful people, yeah.
so what have you taken from those relationships, or what have they?
I would
what
not
have
be
they
the
seen
man
in
I
you?
am today.
Right.
I reckon what they see in me
Mm.
is like a car crash. They can't take their eyes off. Slow motion car crash. I see in those people lots of different things. I mean, I'm not friends with Gina Reinhardt or anything like that. But if I become friends with someone, it's because I like them. I don't know what that means either. There's a bit of a connection.
Yep.
And I want to spend time with them. I enjoy being with them. And in some cases, I learn a lot. So from successful business people, I love being with them because I'm learning I ask them all kinds of questions. I just working with a guy at the moment he's just a really nice man, and I love his company. And he worked in Wall Street. He's helping me with a proposal, and he's helping me. He's so patient because I keep putting things in it that are just honestly they're just stupid, but they seem good to me at the time. He'll really nicely and kindly help me understand why it's stupid. There's no way he'd say that, but that's what he's doing. He's just brilliant, and I'm not.
Well, I just always found it interesting knowing that you were friends with, all sorts of different people
Yeah.
of all different walks of life,
Sure.
different socioeconomic backgrounds
Yeah.
and everything. And, I've seen you be on social media fiercely defendant of people in the areas that you're working in, the attitudes that prevail from,
I think
politicians, from rich people, from
a lot of people. I'll say this pretty bluntly. I'm getting more blunt about this. There are a lot of people who've got their head so far up their backside when it comes to understanding disadvantage and poverty in this country.
Yeah.
Can't speak for other countries. That I've pretty much had enough. I'm not going to smile and grit my teeth anymore. I think they're clueless, and their opinions about job snobs and welfare, whatever. I'm not allowed to say Sally, what she told me I can't say the things I used to say. I said something.
We won't tell.
Bible study the other night. I said, I just want to cut their heads off. Sal said on the way home to the car, look, love, I hear what you're saying. I don't think it'll help. So I'm not saying no. I get unhelpfully irritated. I don't know if I'm right or wrong. I don't really care on this thing. I don't care. What I care about is that people who have not lived in amongst disadvantaged people for a long time don't know what they're talking about when it comes to why they're there. Well, some people do, who've taken time to do research at length. But all that crap the government goes on with. I mean, and it's all of them. This is not a criticism. This is true. How can, if you're on a couple of $100,000 a year and you live in a nice suburb, got a nice car, you never have to think ever really about money, and don't believe them if they say, oh, I have to worry about money, unless they've gotten into massive trouble. But they can't know what it's like to be on $20,000 a year. It's not a criticism. I can't know what it's like to be a billionaire. How would I know? It might be terrible.
So you think maybe one of the problems this comes back to is we think we have an idea about other people and we don't even have an accurate picture of ourselves yet.
If anyone ever comes to me and says, I would like some advice about getting married, one of my standard responses is, look, go for it. It's fantastic. It's hard and rah, rah, rah. But don't think you know who you're marrying, because the person you're standing opposite doesn't know who they are. How can you possibly know who they are? You don't. It's a crapshoot at best. I didn't choose. I lusted after my wife, and she was insane enough to say yes. I was profoundly attracted to her. I've become deeply intellectually attracted to her as years have gone on. But I just don't think you know. And it just irritates me that people have opinions.
Well, we've had opinions, and that's irritated you at times.
It has. Look, you blokes talking about sexual assault once, and let's not talk about it. But you shouldn't have been talking about it. Not unless you've got something to bring to it. All that stuff about rape culture and stuff. I've got nothing to say about it. I know a lot, but I don't know enough people personally who've been raped. So on something that sensitive, I don't always, but I try to keep my mouth shut. But on the disadvantage, we deal with all the time, daily, what we call structural disadvantage and layered disadvantage. Now, all three of us have some sort of disadvantage, right?
Mm.
We could make a few jokes right now about how we look and the size of our noses and things.
Receiving
But seriously, you all do. I'm sure if you're honest, you could probably locate some disadvantage. Nick, you were brought up in a minister's house. That's an advantage in some ways, and other ways it's a disadvantage. It just is. It's not like we're crying about it. Everybody's got a bit disadvantage.
Right.
Your father passed away.
Yep.
That was sad. It was for me. I can't imagine what it was like for you. It's a disadvantage. Some people your age have got a dad around. He was a good man.
Yeah, I know.
He'd be great to have around.
Yeah, he would be.
He was crazy. You know that, don't you? Bob was crazy. He was a beautiful man, and I wouldn't be me without him. So I know his dad too, Nick. I know everyone's dad. I'm old. So what I'm saying is we all have disadvantages. But when you have 5 or 6 of them, let's say you were raised in a zoo, kind of just chaotic home as a kid. That is not your fault.
Mm.
You did not ask to be beaten. Not only did you not ask, you wouldn't have known it was unusual.
Mm.
And then that sets you up for other things, the next thing and the next thing. And girls who are sexually assaulted at school, there are tons of them. Mm. There's another thing and another thing and another thing as you go through life. And then you find yourself not being particularly, say, employable. We're not all the sharpest tool in the shed, are we? And some of us don't have the body to lift heavy things. There's a lot of stuff, layers and layers. And then you live out here where there's one bus an hour if you're lucky. Sometimes it'll go for 3 hours and there's no bus. And a while back, they stopped them altogether. And it's got amongst the lowest car ownership per house in the country. And you live in a house that you don't own and has no air conditioning and no fly screens. You can't leave the windows open. Well, not without getting lots of flies. And it's 45 degrees for 5 days in a row last year. I don't have to put up with those things. I can mitigate all that stuff. Here's what I'm saying. I yell at my wife at times. And it's usually when there's a lot of stress. I raise my voice. It's true, I do. I'm not saying it's okay or funny or anything. I do. If I'm hot and I'm worn out and I've got a lot of stress at work and everything, well, what if you've got no job? And what if you've tried? And what if when you were growing up you were beaten to a pulp? And what if, and what if, and what if? Mm. I'm surprised some of them get out of bed, let alone go get a job. And these, I'm sorry, idiots who have opinions without really deeply understanding what it's like need to keep their mouths shut, sell their house and come. If they want an opinion, I'm all for them to have one, but come and live here. Around my neck of the woods, quite a few people have opinions about rich people.
Yeah.
I like to sort them out. Mostly it's crap. Rich people's marriages are stressed as well. They worry about their children as well. Yeah, they can buy pizzas and cars and houses and things, but not necessarily easy. So this is not about easy and hard. It's about understanding deeply. I just hate it. I hate being a defender. No one asked me to defend them, so it's not my place really, but it drives me crazy. Let me be honest. Right now there's a big news thing about Barnaby Joyce. Mm. Well, a lot of my friends would want to jump on and get stuck into it. Yep, and I understand why, right? I do. But, what a tough gig that is. What a mistake. And to have the whole country coming at you. I mean, at one level, he's the one who did the anti-same-sex marriage and he made LGBTQI people have to have their personal lives exposed, and I don't think that's fair, and I think he deserves everything he gets in one way, but another way I think, oh, geez, mate, that's a tough gig, I don't want to say anything. And those politicians, there was that Labor politician whose mum dumped her when she was 6 years old.
Yeah.
And the bastards go after her. How could you possibly trust them to care about people in my neighbourhood when they just foam at the mouth to attack each other? Stuff that I wouldn't let politicians, those ones, near these people. Council, different story, by the way. Council's good.
So do you want decentralised government or something?
No, here's what I want.
What's your dream then?
Here's what I want. Yeah. I want people with power to spend their power on behalf of the poor and disadvantaged. That's what I want. I have power. I have amazing power. I do. I have money, possessions. I have status. I'm a general manager. I'm a father. I'm a friend. I haven't got it right here with me, but I wrote a list of all the names I heard used to describe people here in the last 2 weeks. And I just thought, far out. They're just run into the ground by bastards who haven't really thought through. Pardon my French. But if Jesus stood up for anyone, the ones I think he stood up for was the poor, the disadvantaged, and women. My favourite Bible story is the one, the woman caught in adultery.
Yeah.
I always think it's hilarious because there's no bloke. Well, it must have been masturbation of some sort because there's no bloke involved. I don't know how you can have an adulterous masturbation experience, but anyway, there's no man. It tells you about the society, right? Mm. So understand that when you're reading Bible stories, there's a society that they're writing from. Mm. And then Jesus, oh, and he stood in between that woman and all these other people who wanted to throw stones at her. And I think that's, oh, gee, can we just sell all the churches and all the crap and just stand between the poor and the oncoming traffic? Can we just do that?
One of my favourite things from that story, it was one of my favourites as well, was that at that point, the thing was whoever is without sin, he was without sin, if you believe all of that.
Yeah.
And he still went, well, I don't condemn you either.
Well, you see, a parallel, I don't know what you think of this, Nick. Forget whether God is real or anything, but just as conceptually.
Yeah.
It has been with me for years that God is the only person who theoretically can control what we do and seems to be the only person who isn't trying.
Yeah.
I just think in some ways in faith and Christendom, I can't speak for Islam and other religions, not really, but I know in my own world, we're a bit obsessed with what we do with our penises and vaginas, and we're a bit obsessed with, a few things like that. We want to control people. None of us would say we do, but in the things we seem to care about, it's about control, coercion. I don't like it. I like Jesus, and I like people and God and stuff, but I don't like all that.
Well, is there any last thing you want to say, Dave, before we go? Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no worries.
And being honest.
I think your podcast has the potential to be a very important podcast. I do. I actually gave a review.
Yeah, we saw that.
I think it has the potential to be a really, not good, but important podcast. I don't know if it'd ever be good, but a very important podcast. We're not asking enough difficult questions. And when they do get asked, we give cliched answers. I think you boys need a bit of encouragement, and I think you need to be careful.
Yeah.
I do, because you're two men and you're of a particular kind of age and you're white and straying into saying absolutes. Questions are fine, but absolutes or opinions about things you may not really know about doesn't mean you can't talk about them, no?
That was my selling point. We don't really know what we're talking about. We're going to do it anyway.
I like the way you pitched the podcast. It's really good.
It is.
And it's not enough of it. Look, there's one called, you ever seen Bad Christians or listened to Bad Christians?
Yeah.
I got into that for about 5 episodes, and it just sounded like they were just basically normal. They just said naughty words.
Have you ever heard of Hinge?
No.
Nick and I have been listening to Hinge.
Podcast?
Yes.
What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, it's good. It's similar to what we're doing, but on a much bigger budget.
But don't let that fool you, just because they've got a budget. Don't worry about that.
Oh, I'm not worried about it.
Good man, no.
They're doing it far more journalistically, whereas I think we're doing it more conversationally.
Hinge is good. Hinge is really good.
Okay. I like Bill Maher, who's a raging atheist. He's my favourite guy. I love him. He just gives so much crap to Christians. Me. I get offended. Don't worry about that. I think you rotten scumbag.
So, Nick.
Yeah?
Have you discovered anything that you're missing? This is what these conversations are part
of. Oh,
right.
I'm disappointed that I haven't found anything yet, Chris, but the search continues.
I think there are things that people think about Christianity because they've been raised on it that either aren't true or at least they are pretty average in the truth department. You know, the thing about blessing I was saying earlier. It's just not what blessing is. We used to learn what faith actually is and what the glory of God actually is. But people have got like these cockamamie ideas. I don't know.
Well, I've got one that I want you to answer because recent podcast that we did was
I can answer everything.
Was on
what was it on?
So it's the Christian language again. But what is a relationship with God then?
That's awesome. What's a relationship with anything? You're married, aren't you, Nick? So all three of us are married.
Yeah,
correct.
Have you got kids? You got kids, haven't you?
Nick? 2 kids.
Yeah, you don't have kids, Shane, because that would make an even better analogy. But
he's got Pilot.
I doubt that our relationships are the same. I can't imagine any two people's relationship with God, whatever that is, would be necessarily the same. And I think people relate differently. Some people are wholehearted in relationships. Some people are emotional. Some people don't express emotion at all in relationships.
But do you think it's a fair thing for growing up within Christian circles? You're told that's the aim of, is to have this relationship with God. And then, I don't know, if you heard from God?
I've never heard God speak.
Yeah. So
once or twice in my life, I've been pretty darn sure either the planets just aligned or a being of some description.
And that's all I've got. But is that much to base a relationship on?
Of course.
I guess, right.
I think it is.
There you go.
I think if you don't want it to be true, then there's plenty of evidence that God isn't real and there's no such thing as a relationship. Like it's fine. If you don't want something to be true, if you're desperate for something to be true, you can turn anything into proof that it's true.
Yep.
at that level, I don't know if Nick was saying this before, but there's no absolutely no. I don't think you can prove God exists, but I think you can know God. I don't think proof and knowledge are the same. It's like facts and knowledge. I don't think we'd argue about that. Facts and truth are not the same. In fact, they're almost never the same. You can align a bunch of facts any way you want to produce an outcome. Doesn't make it true. Facts and truth are not the same.
That's bending facts.
No, it's
isn't
not.
it?
No,
That's
it
still a fact,
is not.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You can
that's
just
the definition, then that's fine with me.
Number one, you are never going to produce every fact about a particular thing that exists.
Right.
There'll be thousands of facts. So you're going to choose some, aren't you?
So your argument stands up somewhat.
Well, I don't know. Shoot me down.
I'm not going to. If anyone's going to shoot you down, it'll be him.
No, Chris is the one picking the fights this week.
What?
He is, isn't he? Have you noticed that, Nick?
Yeah, I have.
Hey, that's enough from you two. Time to roll the music. I think it's time to go. Thanks for listening to the Eternity War. We'll catch you next week. Thank you again, Dave. Thank you, Nick. Nick, you get the last word this week. Take us out.
Outstanding.
God here again. Are you shaking your head incredulously or nodding in approval? Well, if you got something out of this episode, you could really help those poor idiots by contributing to or supporting the Eternity Ward. You can leave reviews on iTunes or wherever you listen to it. You can share it on social media or discuss it in your blog, podcast, or fellowship group. Subscribe, like, nod your head, raise your fist, send a hallelujah. I don't know, but don't send a prayer because I'm kind of busy right now. Join the discussion in the comments section, ask questions, and do come back and join us again here on the Eternity Ward.